You're listening to the Money Mike's syndicated podcast coming to you live here on this beautiful Monday. Got the 49ers, as you know, they're in the turmoil. Some things taking a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously. Niners just can't get on track. It looks like they went through just a series of good quarterbacks, as you know. Jeff Burrows just sliced them up, and Kirk Cousins just sliced them up. But Money Mike's got a different take on how and what he sees, and I'm going to take you behind the scenes and just kind of break this down and see if we can make sense. Because here's what's going on in the Niners room. There's no rest for the weary for the coaches. You got to cancel all your plans to the bye week because we got work to do. And we just came off our third straight loss. Our offensive production is down. You've heard a lot of buzzwords about Steve Wilks, defensive coordinator, not getting the job done. I disagree because the root cause of this problem is not Steve Wilks and the defense. It's the 49ers offense, and that deals directly with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Now, Brock Purdy, as you know, he's been fool's gold up to this point where Brock Purdy is missing the magic. I've got some concerns that I've kind of picked up some tails, and I've been watching the 49ers trying to understand with Brock Purdy and with the offense. Is Brock Purdy capable of reading defenses? I see Kyle call the play. I see Brock Purdy receive the play. I see him go through the line, and there's no check with me. There's no audibles. There's nothing going on. We're snapping the ball. We're in the formation that Kyle's put us in. And I told you, if you sink that safety down into the box and you get those cornerbacks where they're going to be able to get off those blocks, you're going to shut that run down, and that's going to push Brock Purdy into playing football. Now, is Brock able to play football? Yes, he is. But, guys, let me tell you, there's a lot of tape out on this guy. There's a lot of tape out. Okay, when I say a lot of tape, I mean this guy's played a lot of college football games. They've looked at him. The scouts didn't get it wrong. They got it right. Okay, and what the 49ers did, they got it right, too. They took him in the 7th round. They were supposed to put him on the shelf, let him develop. Well, all of a sudden, you get this wild hair that we're going to advance him up, and he's not ready. Brock Purdy is not close to being ready. The 49ers' issues are not the defense because they're not built that way. And I give kudos, special salute to the analytics that found a stat that is so telling. Kyle Shanahan is 0-29 when trailing by at least 4 or 5 points. He's 0-36 when trailing by 8 points. Here's where my concern is. That tell right there, that information, the analytic information just showed me the 49ers are not built to come from behind. And if they don't have the ability to come from behind, then that means the way the team is built, the way the offense is built, it's a ball control. And their expectation is to get the lead, keep the lead, and not have the defense put under pressure. But here's what's happening now. They scrapped all that, and now the defense is coming off of 3 and outs from the 49ers offense. The offense not moving the ball, so guess what that means? The defense is going to be on the field longer. And if the defense is on the field longer, then you're not going to be able to get the rest those guys need to make the adjustment. And, folks, that's what's going on with the 49ers, okay? Has nothing to do with the defense. Obviously, the media jumped on that, but that's not football. Money Mike promised to bring it to you uncut behind the scenes. Going to let you know what's going on. Losing Debo, obviously, big, major factor. And, of course, you got the future Hall of Famer, Trent. Big 7-1, you losing him. That's the fire in the bunch. Okay, and here's where the 49ers are got to get really cautious because now they can't run the ball. Okay, you're getting 65 yards rushing, and you're a football team that averages 150, 200, 250 yards rushing, and now you can't churn on the ground. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands. And what I've noticed about Brock Purdy, I've watched him, I study him, and being a former defensive back, being a cornerback, I've discovered Brock Purdy does everything off timing. Everything he does has to hit off timing. And as a DB, once the D coordinators get that under the belt, what they've been able to understand is when you take a guy like Brock Purdy and you get him moving on timing, he's expected to throw that ball to a 10-yard out, 12-yard out. However, the DBs have picked up on that tell, and now they're pushing the receivers short 9 yards and making them go deeper to 11 yards. And if you noticed in the Bengals game, Brock Purdy's passes were being intercepted because those guys were starting to come underneath, and they're picking that ball off. The cornerback Brock Purdy should have had 4 interceptions yesterday. And this is no surprise because Brock Purdy is doing the same thing today that he did in training camp. The only difference is Kyle Shanahan chose to ignore it. I repeat that. Brock Purdy is throwing the same amount of interceptions that he threw in training camp. Folks, let me be honest. He threw 2-3 picks a day. And when the DB is picking off passes every day and the defense is seeing it, well, guess what? The tape is out. These guys are seeing what you're doing, and now they're picking him off. So there's no room for Brock Purdy because the only thing Purdy's missing is the magic. Drew Brees had the magic. Tom Brady had the magic. Aaron Rodgers had the magic. And folks, the magic is when you can get down in that crucial situation, you got to make a play. And you got to make a play and turn it into magic. And that's what elite quarterbacks do. We started off as Brock Purdy MVP. No, he's not. Okay? And he's getting outdueled. And here's a concern I have with getting outdueled. Okay? Because the 49ers are facing some teams that are really got the tell on them, and then Brock Purdy's getting outdueled. We know he's got Trevor Lawrence coming up. He's not going to beat him. That's going to be a tough one because they're hot. Okay, obviously you got the Bucks coming up. That's going to be a chance to get a victory. Seahawks and Geno Smith, they're getting victories, folks. And we got to go up there to Seattle for the first one. And I'll tell you, that's not a good place to play, and we haven't had success. We broke through one year, but no, we don't win up in Seattle. Okay, and obviously you got the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. We know what they're doing, and Brock Purdy's not going to outduel Jalen Hurts. Okay, so you got to get that there. And then we got the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Boy, that was going to be a beast. Okay, because now all 11 players got to cover that entire field. And if you look down, then we got the Commanders. They're going to play tough, but they're beatable. And then you got the Rams and Matthew Stafford. They're going to play the spoilers at the end of the year. If we can't go, you can't go to the playoffs either. So these issues, folks, that I'm trying to share with you are stemming from the 49ers offense not being able to execute. So what they're doing now is deflecting the blame to the defense. Instead of Shanahan saying, I've got to figure out a way, I've got to man up, okay? You don't need to go in those defensive meetings. And guys, let me tell you something right now. Okay, I'm going to take you behind the scenes, and I'm going to let you know Kyle Shanahan and what he's done with the 49ers does not even need to step in a defensive meeting. Those guys are going to figure that out. Okay, you got future Hall of Famers. You got Big Hargrave as a plug. Okay, you got Fred Warner, best middle linebacker in the league. You got Gibson running there in the back at the safety. So you got 3 quarterbacks already sitting there ready for you to roll. Here's what I need you to do, Kyle. Let those guys figure it out because there's nothing you're going to be able to add in that defensive room. That's not your area of expertise. If anything, John Lynch can walk in that defensive room. Okay, and I repeat that, John Lynch can walk in that defensive room, and he's going to get the respect of the players because they know what he's did in this game. Kyle, you haven't done it, and you got to back up and not try to shift the blame. Get the offense rolling. You can't just run McCaffrey all the time. Elijah Mitchell, we got either availability, okay, your availability is your best ability. Elijah Mitchell hasn't been there. Let's move on. Let's get some backs that are going to come in there that are hungry, that want to play, that we can get this running game going because that's where the issue is. And if you're looking for Brock Purdy to come from behind, he can't do it, and Kyle Shanahan can't do it. So if the head coach is not built 0-29, fourth quarter to come-behind games. How in the world is Brock Purdy going to play a come-behind game? You can't do it. And the timing routes, Patrick Peterson called it right away. He says, I'm going to pick him off. Because we know if you throw on timing, that we're going to remove the receiver from the ball. And what does that mean? We're going to make him go 9 yards. We're going to make him go 11 yards. And that ball's going to come out to an empty space. And that's what Brock Purdy has done with the interceptions. So there's some things out there the Niners need to fix. Kyle needs to just focus on his offense. Obviously, there's no rest for the weary and the coaches. Whatever plans you had for the bye week, those have been canceled. Players, whatever plans you had for the bye week, those have been canceled. Okay, the 49ers are going to have to tear it down, rebuild it, and let these guys play football. But don't shift your offensive inefficiencies to that defense, because that defense is playing hard. They're playing for Wilks, and that's what it is. If you start meddling in the defense, Kyle Shanahan, what you're going to do is split the team. And we know the 85 Bears, that team was split. Mike Ditka one way, Buddy Ryan the other way. You don't want to split the team. And this sounds like deja vu all the way back to Mike Singletary as the head coach and Jimmy Ray as the offensive coordinator. Jimmy Ray said, Mike, I'm running what you want me to run. Okay? For Kyle Shanahan, Steve Wilks is running what you want him to run. And here's the thing that really puzzled me, and I'll close with this. Kyle, you heard the blitz call. You got the headset on. You could have time out. You could have took a timeout and said, why are we doing that? You didn't need to let the play go and then second guess it afterwards. You are the head coach. And folks, I tell you, as a head coach, you got a lot of responsibility. But if you're a head coach with an offensive emphasis, don't go in that defensive room. You're not going to fool those guys, and don't call them out. Don't call those defensive guys out. So that's where I'm going to leave it. You're listening to the Money Mike's syndicated podcast, and we're coming to you live on the San Francisco 49ers 0-3. No rest for the NFL coaches of the 49ers, and they're going to be weary, but they got a lot of work to do. So get used to staying at the facility, eating at the facility, and we'll come off this bye week, and we got a hot test. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, we'll get it done. Thank you for tuning in to the Money Mike's syndicated podcast.